Welcome back, comrades. This is Gaming with Austin. Today, we are going on to episode 46 of season 2 of the Utopian community series. We're gonna keep continuing on with building the third, with covering construction of the fourth floor in North America and Russia, third floor international. Once it reaches the middle of that, like right in between those two poles, I'd put another glowstone on. You know, the problem with universal basic income is even with taxes from the rich, the government wouldn't be able to do it. Even if machines took all our jobs. That is because there's a lot of people that we have to take care of. It's hard. It's really hard to do it. It's pretty hard. Even if we increase our taxes. You know, in the fascist country in my story, like with the dictator, he needs all the wealth to be concentrated into the hands of a few instead of it being distributed to everybody. As he believes that stripping wealth from the undesirables would be a way to facilitate ethnic cleansing. By deliberately putting them into poverty. The dictator would deliberately put them into poverty. How? Have you heard of something called the Warsaw Ghetto? Not only that, they would focus more towards enslaving them. Even in a society, even in a gift economy, we still need farmers, regardless. You know, in the fascist country, for the elites, like, their salary would basically basically be sort of like a quota. Like, they'd have to meet their quotas just to stay alive. Like, if they... Like, they wouldn't be allowed to cut down their salary. Those who do would get killed. Even those who think about doing it would get killed. Because the dictator wants them to be as greedy as possible. Those who are generous would get killed. How will the dictator perpetuate a war? Some of it's related to hate. Like, how? He would order the invasion of, like, one of them, like, he would order, the dictator would order the invasion of a lot of countries. Like, the dictatorship would be an ultra-nationalist dictatorship. How the dictator stay in power? He would extort those who are really vulnerable. He would order the extortion of money from people in poorer countries. The dictator would go towards seceding from the United Nations. Like complete separatism. In the fascist country, 2D versions of films would literally be banned. With the computers, the government would price gouge them just to keep the ordinary citizens at bay. It would be part of the extreme censorship laws. Dirty content would be banned. They'd crack down on smugglers. The reason it's so hard to eradicate drug trafficking is it's a demand-driven problem. It's not a supply-driven problem, like they want you to believe. It's a demand-driven problem. It is a demand-driven problem. Not a supply-driven problem. Like, for the fascist country, the only way, like, the dictator would believe the only way how he can stay in power is to concentrate the wealth, almost all the wealth, to a very few people. Like, the top 1% of the population would own 90% of the country's wealth, while the top 0.05% would own about 50%. it'd be done as a way. It'd be done as a means of political repression. They do it as a mean of political repression. My explanation to why society allows us to be so lazy. Here's my explanation. It all has to do with survival. Here's my explanation. It all has to do with survival. For me, doing work, in my personal opinion, doing labor-intensive stuff, it's all about keeping up with the demand. It's mostly not about money. It's all about working should be all about keeping up with demand. If you own a business, don't. You're exploiting workers for your own personal gain. And I believe that production should be undertaken for use. And if everybody worked for no money, and no one made money whatsoever, yet people worked, things would be better off if we had a society without money, that is moneyless, yet people still worked. Instead of people going over to get the food, they'd give the food to them. And there's a good reason for that. The reason why parents have to make their kids clean their rooms, imagine what it would be like if they left their house dirty as an adult, as a homeowner. They'd risk losing their home. When you do chores in your household, it'll help you become a responsible homeowner. Housing should be a right, not a privilege. One of the factors that affecting income inequality is something called so-called ethnic privilege. Like basically, white privilege. White supremacy is one of the factors that makes it hard for us to reduce income inequality, along with other forms of ethno-supremacism. I personally oppose nationalism. I oppose authoritarianism. You know, gun control versus gun rights, it's more of a liberty versus authority thing. The problem with avoiding, when you don't discipline whenever you don't teach your child discipline, you're literally putting your child into a life of crime. Literally. Which is something society doesn't want. Here's my explanation to why society allows us to be lazy. If we get rid of every lazy person and suddenly there was a famine, like, and sometime in the future a famine broke out, like, if we got rid of every lazy person in this world, and sometime in the future a famine broke out, the human race would go extinct. Because we have lazy people for a reason. We have lazy people for a reason. What if there was a famine? We gotta ensure that some of us survive it. In survival of the fittest, whenever it goes to a famine, the laziest tends to have the greatest chance of survival. Those who are really lazy tend to have the best chance of surviving. You know, those who are really lazy, they have the best chance of surviving a famine. If food is really scarce, being lazy is the best way to go when it goes to survival. I know it might not be your best bet to be lazy, but it's the only way how you can survive a famine. To explain why we tend to have a really competitive behavior, we gotta go back several 100 million years ago. Long before humans existed. Like, down to the very first animals. One of the consequences of World War III, like, even animals compete for resources too. For some animals, they don't have a choice. We have a choice whether or not to compete for resources. We have a choice. Not all animals have that choice. You know, with prey, their natural instinct is to escape from their predator's territory, but the predator, especially if they are an obligate carnivore, has to stay within their prey's territory to ensure they have a constant food source. If they're an obligate carnivore. It's basically a constant struggle between predator and prey. That struggle is over who survives. It's basically a constant struggle over survival. Because an obligate carnivore must rely on animal flesh to survive. But a herbivore usually... Dogs are carnivores, but they're not obligate carnivores like cats are. Dogs are facultative carnivores, meaning they usually eat meat but can go on, can eat plants if they have to. Like, if their main food source is not available. The reason why we can't get rid of our cat's natural urge to hunt, that is because cats are obligate carnivores. Which means cats must eat meat to survive. Concerns for animal welfare needs to include a biologically appropriate diet. Which means vegan cat food should be out of the way. Those who make vegan cat food should be kept at bay. And cats, they need raw meat. With the raw meat that cats love to eat, don't rinse the raw meat you're about to feed your cat. Because it has all the amino acids that cats do need that we can already produce. For cats, meat is a very crucial part of their diet. Concerns for animal welfare must include a biologically appropriate diet. For some animals, greed is considered a biologically appropriate behavior, as animals fight over food, water, or territory. But for us humans, only if necessary. How to adapt to a famine? We'd have to adopt those who adopt a sedentary lifestyle have the greatest chance of surviving a famine. Like, at the start of the famine, those who adopt a sedentary lifestyle have the greatest chance of surviving. The problem with obesity is severe obesity is pretty bad for your lungs. The pressure, the visceral fat causes on your lungs makes it hard for you to breathe, which means it's harder to exercise when you're overweight. The best thing to do first, before you start exercising, if you're trying to lose weight, is you're going to have to start off by eating less. Start off slow and work your way up. Like, try to reduce your food consumption gradually. Do it gradually. Because if you do it too fast like I did, you're going to see the effects of malnutrition if you do it too quickly. If you cut down on food too quickly, you're going to end up suffering malnutrition. If you do it like I was struggling with, between, during 10th and 11th grade year, as I was losing weight too quickly. For me, I felt that I had to lose weight because I didn't want to do further damage to my back. scoliosis. It's mild scoliosis. Obesity can exacerbate the severity of scoliosis. The best way to slow down the progression of scoliosis is to lose weight. You know, it's not just your extreme hunger cravings for junk food that makes it hard for you to lose weight. Our bodies are literally trying to keep us from losing weight. Because our body sees weight loss as a threat to our survival. Our bodies literally see it as a threat to our survival. Not all people that are overweight are metabolically unhealthy. There are overweight people that are metabolically healthy too. I myself used to be extremely overweight. Like, to the point I was struggling with diabetes. I used to have diabetes, actually. I don't have diabetes anymore. It all has to do with early diagnosis. If it's diagnosed early enough, you can actually reverse the progression of type 2 diabetes. If it's diagnosed early enough. Thankfully, I weigh a lot less now. I'm at a healthy weight. Yeah, at the same time, I can already see the indentation of my rib cage. Which is kind of unhealthy. When you see the indentation of your rib cage, that's a sign that you need to gain weight. Or gain fat depending on how muscular you are. Because you do need some body fat. It doesn't just act as cushioning for your organs. It also acts as insulation. And also a lubricant to your organs. For whom the bell tolls. The secret to being able to survive on minimum wage? You should stockpile on food. Like nuts, rice. Beans. And occasionally go into some fruits too, to avoid scurvy. Those ripets that support that are popular with U.S. soldiers, they have a source of vitamin C, which is a good thing. Which means soldiers could, not only are they getting the caffeine to help them stay awake during military ops, they're also getting the vitamin C they need. do not drink booze. Because booze is bad for your liver. You know, booze can actually make you a lot more sensitive to caffeine. If I was to buy booze, I'd use it as an antiseptic. I wouldn't drink it. You know, fentanyl is so potent that even touching it can kill you. Excuse me. As always, thank you for watching. But before I go, I'm gonna... You know, animals with a huge territory requirement are not suitable for domestication. As always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. Share this with your comrades on social media. Till my channel will grow. Subscribe to my channel. As always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. And, last but not least, peace out.